Welcome to Kensington, your hometown church for great community and quality refreshments. Help keep the auditorium clean by depositing litter in trash receptacles. No talking or texting during the service. And be sure to use the Kensington app or visit the Starting Point team after the service to learn more about Kensington and receive a free gift. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the service.
Come on, who loves that opening theme for the past? That's the last time you're going to hear it. We're in week number 4. Are you guys doing pretty good? Yeah, hey, dude, somebody in the back's doing pretty good. The rest of you doing pretty well? Yes. Yes, there we go. I love it. Hey, have you been loving kind of like Kensington at the movie? I'm a movie buff, man, so I love it. But have you been loving like kind of Kensington to the movies, going to the movies, kind of a fun summer break doing this so far? So far, so good? Yeah, me too, man. I'm loving it. So, well, kind of, how many of you love like trivia games and things like that? We're going to do a little movie trivia to kind of get us moving in that direction, okay? And so we've got 2 contestants. So why don't you guys come up here right now and give them a big hand as they come on up. Grab your microphones on up. And we've got, right there. And we've got 8 different questions. We're going to go, oh, thank you so much. And in fact, I've got a quarter that I'm going to flip to see who goes first. I love this. Why don't you guys come right over here, okay? Are your mics on? You want to tell everybody your name?
My name, it's not on.
It should be.
Hello? There it is.
There we go.
I'm Jenny. Hi.
This is Jenny. Say hi to Jenny.
Hi.
Jenny, you come right over here on this side, and that's square.
And I'm not good at trivia.
And I am Dale.
This is Dale. By the way, Dale is leading our portability, by the way, so give him a hand. Everything's set up and here for you because Dale and his teams do an incredible job, so thanks for doing that, man. Well, the rules are this, okay? There's going to be 8 questions in movie trivia. Some are going to be about themes. Some are going to be actually questions from movies. Some are going to be song bites, all right? And I'm going to let you guys 2 times each, only 2 times through the entire game, you can call to the audience for help, okay? Like kind of like lifelines. Remember that from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? You're not going to phone anybody, but you're going to yell out here, so you can do that only twice. Does that make sense? You guys good with that? So your mind's got to be engaged too, okay, with the movie trivia. So
I need help.
Jenny needs help, right? Dale kind of thinks he's a movie buff. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, so we're going to flip. Do you want heads or tails?
Heads.
Heads. You got tails, bud. Sorry. Okay, you ready? Here we go. And it's up. I lost it in the light a little bit. Oh, my gosh. Wait. Oh, this is suspenseful. Oh, come on. It's still going.
Keep going.
Who wants to see what do we got? What do we got? Tails. Tails it is. Dale goes first. Okay, so here we go. All right, so the first question, we're going to go through like famous quotes, okay, from movies. So the quote is going to be on the screen behind me. You ready? Here we go, Dale.
Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Wait, are you doing a, hold on now. Are you calling to the audience or do you know this on your own? You only get 2 of these audience ones. Dale, I think you just used your audience one. So here we go. You can ask her.
Okay, let's go for it, Kelly. Princess Bride.
The Princess Bride is correct. Give Dale some points. All right, so this means it's going to go to you, Jenny, okay? Are you ready? So here we go. So this is our next famous quote we're going to listen to.
I'm serious, and don't call me Shirley.
Do you want to hear it again? Would that help? Hear the voice?
Okay.
Can I steal?
Not yet. Hold on.
I'm serious, and don't call me Shirley.
Remember, you have 2 lifelines to the audience.
I'm going to need it because I don't remember.
Okay. You want to use a lifeline?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Do you know it? Oh, it was airplane?
You want to go with airplane? Airplane. Airplane is the correct answer.
Yes.
All right, there we go.
I can see him saying.
Well, we're a couple questions in it. You both used 1 lifeline each. So here we go. We're going to go on to multiple choice. You ready? Okay, so this one, Dale's going to go to you. What type of candy does Elliot use to persuade E.T. to come into his room? Shh.
Don't help.
Listen, audience, we have security, and we will rip you out of here if you do that again. So, okay.
Yeah, that's kind of a cheat. I'm going to go with Reese's Pieces.
Oh, it kind of was a cheat, but we'll have to give it to you, buddy. So, all right, so here we go. We're going to go to another multiple choice. Are you ready, Jenny? Okay, you ready? Where was Forrest Gump shot? therefore sending him home from Vietnam. Where was he shot physically? Was it the ear, the leg, the arm, or the buttocks? Which one was it?
I don't even remember, but I'm guessing the buttocks.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the answer, please? I know the buttocks,
It's
okay.
the derriere.
And the answer is correct. Give it up to Jenny. Okay, here we go. Well, so far, I might lose my mind. We're tied so far, right? We're doing good. Okay, here we go. So now we've got theme songs. Dale, this first one's going to go to you. So everybody, like, tune your ears and listen. You ready? Hold on. Remember, if you want the audience help, that's your final lifeline. You got to ask for it.
This is kind of obscure, but is that from the Avengers?
It's not. Is that your final answer? I said that backwards. That is your final answer.
Apparently, that's my final answer.
It's not.
Yeah, okay.
You get no lifeline. Sorry. You botched that one up, and so did I. So. It's your opportunity to take it back, or you can do a lifeline if you want.
Oh, I have a lifeline still?
You do. You have one more left, yeah.
Yes, please, help.
Okay, here we go. Audience lifeline.
Anybody? Harry Potter? Okay.
Harry Potter, yep. And guess what? That is the correct answer.
Good job.
All right. Congratulations. Okay, so we're ahead in the game right now. You're out of lifelines. You've got one lifeline left, okay? You ready? Here we go. Everybody.
Sure, I'll go for the lifeline. Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park, and did you seriously need the lifeline in that
Musical
one? Come on.
people. Musical people.
Dude. Okay, we're tied back up, out of lifeline.
Hey, I knew the buttocks answer, okay? I wouldn't have needed help with
You're
that.
on your own. You just want to say that word again. Okay, you ready? So here's our next sound clip.
Oh, great, now I can't think of it because I like
Oh,
the song.
man, you were so into it. I was waiting for you to start.
Hang on. Can you just keep the song going? I'll get it
Can
eventually.
we do it again?
Oh, this is terrible because I told you I go blank.
I feel bad. I got to put a clock on you here.
No, I
3, you sure? 2,
I'm not going to remember it. I'm not
nothing.
gonna
Okay,
remember it.
Dale, your opportunity to steal this.
Could be for the win.
Could
I
it
have
be?
no idea.
You have no idea. Does anybody?
Wait,
okay,
I can
so
use. I have a life.
Eddie Murphy, Beverly Hills
Eddie
Cop. So
Murphy.
neither one of you got that.
So,
okay.
was that my lifeline? Can I use that?
Yeah,
He
you
wins.
cannot. You cannot. You cannot. Great answer, though. Okay, here we go.
He
We got
wins.
final one. So here we're gonna go back to you because he tried to steal it, lost it. So are we tied up right now? Where are we at? Dale's ahead by 1. Okay, so you have it. Oh, it's Dale's turn, even though he tried to steal it and botched it. Okay, here we go. Okay, sorry. The rules are what they are. I apologize. So here we go.
Do I have a lifeline? Do I have a lifeline left?
You do not. No, thank you for
No.
continuing to ask. You don't. You've used them both.
I'm going with Avengers again.
And Avengers would be correct, my friend. Yeah! Give it up to Dale Mallard then. He won the game. Thanks for being a great sport. Your consolation prize is the applause that you just got. So, you got a fan down here. He's a married man. Okay, he's a married man. Jenny, thank you. Give it up to Jenny, too. Thank you, guys. You put your mics up and go back down. Little movie trivia. You guys did great, too. So, hey, we are in our 4th and final week, right, of Kensington Goes to the Movies. The Greatest Showman is our movie today that we're going to be walking through. Mark's going to take us on a journey through that. But before we get into it, I want to invite you just to stand up for a minute and say hello, say hi to somebody, and we'll continue on our day, okay?
I close my eyes and I can see a world that's waiting up for me, that I call my own. Through the dark, through the door, through where no one's been before, but it feels like home. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say I've lost my mind. I don't care, so call me crazy. We can live in a world that we desire.
'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. Oh, a million dreams for the world we're gonna make.
There's a house we can build. Every room inside is filled with things from far away. Special things I compile, each one there to make you smile on a rainy day. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say we've lost our mind. I don't care if they call us crazy. Run away to a world that we design.
'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head. A million dreams are keeping me awake. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. Oh, a million dreams for the world we're gonna make. However big, however small, let me be a part of it all. Share your dreams with me. You may be right, you may be wrong, but say that you'll bring me along to the world you see, to the world I close my eyes to see. I close my eyes to see.
'Cause every night I lie in bed, the brightest colors fill my head.
A million dreams that keep me awake.
A million dreams. I think of what the world could be, a vision of the one I see. A million dreams is all it's gonna take. A million dreams for the world we're gonna make.
For the world we're gonna make.
Yeah, I'm going to call an audible right now. We're going to do that again right now. Danny, come here. Hey, you guys, would you give this guy, show him some love, Dan. And now I'm going to tell you why. Michigan is not native ground for this guy. He's from Ohio. We had to forgive him for that. But he's been with us for several months, and, you know, we've just grown to love him so much. Danny, you've been an amazing contributor to what we're doing here. And but he's got to head back. He's going to be moving back to Ohio, so he's still going to be visiting us.
Yep.
Some?
All the time.
All the time. Cool. That's good. But anyway, I just wanted you to have a chance to say thanks. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Yep. And then I was thinking about McKenna. She's going to be a senior in high school this year. Clavers, are you in the audience today? Yeah. Where's she going to school next year? Does she know yet? I'm voting Oakland University. Something at home. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Anyway, just, man, both those guys just have created some amazing moments for us, haven't they? Just so beautiful. This song is powerful, and it's so moving, and it's beautiful musically, the melody and all that kind of stuff, but there's something about it, too, about what it's saying, right? Now, let me just get a couple of these words from the very first verse when Danny's saying, I close my eyes and I can see the world that's waiting up for me. He says, they're the dark through the door, through where no one's been before. In other words, I can see something that's never happened, right? And it feels like home. And they can say I'm crazy. They can say I've lost my mind. I don't care. So call me crazy, because we can live in a world we design. And I think there's something that grabs our heart and we go, yeah, right? Because I think every one of us are dreamers. I think all of us have that heart that at one point, maybe you don't dream much now, but I'm telling you, there was a time in your life when you were a dreamer and you had an imagination for things to experience in your life that were amazing. And that's what this movie we're going to be looking at is about. This Greatest Showman, P.T. Barnum, is this guy who has this imagination that's amazing. I was thinking about, I've shared with you some quotes from a book I'm reading. It's called The Last Arrow. It's by a guy named Erwin McManus. And he asked a question. He said, what makes us uniquely human? What's one of the things that's unique about being a human being? Let me read to you what he wrote. At the core is the argument that every human being, and I love how he says this, is both a work of art and an artist at work. He says every single human being is this amazing creation by God. In other words, a work of art. You are, every one of you. You know, I don't think so. But you are. But you're not just an amazing work of art. You are an artist at work. And then he goes on, he says, being created in the image of God is revealed in the creative nature of humanity. It's a simple declaration, but the implications are seismic. And then he says, like bees create hives and ants create colonies. Listen to this, right? Humans create futures. Isn't that cool? It's like we have the ability to imagine something that doesn't exist and become a co-creator as his image bearer with God to make that happen. Cows can't do that. You can. And that's something Erwin points out as being really unique. But here's the thing. For most of us, it could be where you grew up, your place in life, your lot in life, so to speak. It could be the circumstances of your life. It could be discouragement with your own humanity. It's like you were a dreamer, right? And you tried and it didn't work and you were devastated, but you pulled yourself back up and you had the courage to give it one more shot and you tried again and maybe it didn't go just as you saw. Or maybe it's the people around you that matter to you who really don't believe in your dreams. And the message you've gotten from them is like, seriously? You? But you put that all together and the world has a way of just knocking vision and dreams and imagination out of us. But it always wasn't like that. You've heard the study. I don't remember the numbers. I didn't look them up, but I'm sure you've heard it. When they took the elementary kids and they asked them, they said, how many of you guys would say that you're an artist? And you know how many hands went up. You know, like 90% of the kids thought they were artists, right? Man, they're drawing, they're creating, they're making stuff all the time. Then they asked the same question of adults. And it was like the exact opposite. Like 5% of the people kind of reluctantly raised their hand. Well, I'm maybe not very good, though. So what happened? What happened from that childlike wonder? The world can beat it right out of us. I was thinking last night and yesterday, Callie and I hosted a reunion at our house. And it was a really cool reunion because it's one we had thought about doing for a long time. When I first got out of college, I was a music teacher. And I taught at Oakland Christian School, which isn't too far from here in Auburn Hills. And one of the years, it was 1986. It's a long time ago. 1986, there was this group of kids that came together, and I really had the dream. I had a dream of creating a group of really talented kids and doing something that had never been done before in the church culture. And so we pulled these kids together, and I think it was, I really believe it was a co-creation where God had kind of put that vision in my heart, and then he said, hey, let me throw these kids at you. And, you know, when I look at McKenna and hear her sing as a high school student, I mean, come on. Well, I had about 12 McKennas. I kid you not. And so what we did is we had a vision, Callie and I, for creating like a rock band, okay, which was kind of like back then in the 80s in Christian culture. For those of you that aren't aware of that, you're like, what are you talking about? Back then, that was not kosher in a lot of places. And then in addition to that, we thought, well, let's just take it up a notch. We're doing rock music and everything else for these kids. Let's have them dance too. So we did choreographed stuff. It was all out in it, right? And oh, by the way, let's do production with lights and the whole thing. We just did the whole thing. And this was at Oakland Christian School, right? So we would come into these traditional churches and these kids would start singing and their eyes would be like, jaw. But it was powerful because they had this amazing gift and we were able to communicate truth and encouragement and excitement about life in a way that was like what you just felt. I mean, these guys got done singing, right? And there was an explosion of like, yeah, this is so moving. But here's the interesting thing about it, is the imagination, see, the world doesn't always like it. And what would happen is that a lot of the churches that we would go to didn't like it at all. And so Monday morning, I would find myself in my principal's office with an angry, I'm talking angry pastor sitting across the desk from me. And this is what he said, this one guy. He said, I want to tell you something right now. He said, what do you think you're doing? You got this loud rock music going on, and you got the lights down, and you know that guy that's leading it, his wife was in the back, and she was moving. That is an exact quote from this guy. And what was so great is the principal, who was a pretty good friend of mine, he sat there for a while and just kind of like this. And the guy looks at the principal and he goes, you mean to tell me you allow this kind of thing in your school? Paul said, I not only allow it, I celebrate it. And this guy was he couldn't believe it. But it was so interesting because what were we trying to do? What were these kids trying to do? These kids were excited. They were. I mean, we knew them all very well personally. We were a close-knit family, and they were excited about what God had done in their life. And they were taking the giftedness, and Callie and I were taking our creativity and the music that was available to us all around in the world, and we put it together. We said, let's take this and make something powerful that declares the goodness of God in a way that's exciting and relevant. And the world said, don't do that. It's never been done before. It's so interesting. 3 years later, God led us to start Kensington. A lot of you know that story. And guess what my job was? To create moments in that service for people to engage with God. And this was specifically for people who had been disenfranchised, discouraged by church, who had given up on church. Our motto was a church for people who hate church. And so we got a lot of those kids came and started Kensington with us. You've heard of maybe the 40 people that started Kensington. We had about 8 of them from that group that started Kensington. And sure enough, we created these powerful moments that were really trying to connect the message of God in a way that was exciting and relevant. And the Christian community in Southeast Detroit hated us. I mean, the Christian talk shows on the radios lit up. about us and what we were doing? Because it was new, it was different. It's hard to understand. But I believe that God is about the new. King Solomon, he was the wisest man that ever lived at that time. And he wrote something one time, and it said this: there is nothing new under the sun, he said. Everything is meaningless. And Erwin McManus, in this, right after this section I just read from you, he said he was really bothered by that. And he said, that's not true. And the Christian community really went after him for saying, hey, wait a second, the guy said it, and it's in the Bible. He said, yeah, but it's not true. And he said, it's not true. Are you kidding me? And I want to read to you what he says about this, about the new and the excitement of the new. Because he says, of course, there would be nothing new under the sun if we lived our lives apart from God. But we were never intended to live apart from him. We were always intended to live our lives with him. And with him, there's always something new. In fact, that's what God says through Isaiah, which was a prophet in the Old Testament, when he tells us, and God is speaking here, he says, forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I'm doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? Isn't that great? And then Erwin says, so who are we to believe? Solomon, when he says there's nothing new under the sun, or God, when he says, I am doing a new thing? The same God who says, I am making everything new. These are passages taken right from Scripture. The same God who tells us that he gives us a new heart and makes us new creations. And by the way, that was the name of this group. So we had kids that came yesterday. Kids, they're old people now. But they showed up. I hadn't seen a lot of them since they were 18 years old. This was back in 1988. So anyway, it was amazing, but the name of our group was New Creation, because we really believe that God was doing something new in us, and he was calling us to lead a new expression, a new creation into the world. The same God who calls us to sing a new song, and whose mercies, you've heard this, some of you, his mercies are new every morning. Erwin says, as I see it, the future is my place to stand my ground. I have found the church, and this is interesting, right? I found the church strangely walking backward into the future. The church has become an institution that preserves the past and fears the future. It is not an overstatement to say that the church has become more of a reflection of what we're running from than what we're running to. No wonder we've lost our power to change the world. No wonder the church has lost its magnetism to a world searching for hope. We are seen as the guardians of tradition. The church is known for fighting the future rather than creating the future that humanity desperately needs. Isn't that amazing insight? And I thought, you know what? I felt that way about the church. And I just shared 2 instances for me when I felt like I was trying to be with God, a co-creator with him, and the church were the ones that shut me down. And then as I was getting real judgmental about the church, I'm just telling you, don't ever do messages, man. The Lord really gets you. And he's like, oh yeah, so you're different? And I thought, oh man, I do the same thing. I'm the same way. If you're like me at all, I'm so prone to that. The future can what? It can look hopeless. It can be super scary. And if you believe the narrative that says you can't do it, you don't have what it takes, it's never been done before. See, if you believe that, pretty soon fear will creep in, right? And you'll become frozen. Or at best, looking like this at the future, trying to preserve at least something that hasn't been taken away from you. Anybody else? That's one of my biggest struggles. So this brings us back to the movie, Greatest Showman. Thought it'd be good to show you a couple clips. And I want to start off watching the young P.T. Barnum. He's a kid. And you can see this excitement. He's got a twinkle in his eye. He's got a childlike heart, right? But what happens is that he starts to have, with these big dreams, people pushing back. right? And he gets the seeds, even as a kid, of shame and insecurity that begin to lock themselves deeply in. So let's pick it up there.
I understand. Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Jeffries. Thank you.
What's so interesting about this is you can see there's two narratives going on simultaneously, and they're both super strong. So he's got this belief. It's this world that he can see that's waiting for me, he says. And at the same time, he's got this other narrative that's beginning and has been lingering because of the abject poverty that he lived in. And this, like her father saying, what? You're nothing. So in one, he's got one message saying, I can see it, I can taste it, right? And another one that's saying, you're nothing. You don't have what it takes. So in the story, this first narrative is super strong. And he just uses the second negative narrative to fuel the first one. And so he begins to work hard and apply his work ethic and his imagination to his life he's always dreamed of. Boy, for those of you that haven't had a chance to see the film, I'm not sure if it's how it feels, but that's powerful stuff. It's interesting, isn't it? Barnum reaches down deep, believing in that dream, and he achieves it. He gets success, he gets fame, he gets money, recognition, everything. But there is this lingering pit that never goes away. It's like you can't escape it. It's like that dad walks in, her dad, one time. She said, yeah, you're just a tailor. You're always a tailor. You're always nothing. And his wife can see this, right? And she's trying to speak into him. Finn, look, it's beautiful. The house is beautiful, but we don't need, she's got, and he sweeps her up. He says, I have this house, and now it's this, and then Jenny Lind, and what's it going to take? And here's something I want to point out, because I think this is so important for us, is that this need that he has to be accepted and valued for who he is a legitimate need. And there's not one of us in this room who doesn't have that need. There's not one of your kids who doesn't need more than anything else to know that you love them regardless of their performance, that you accept them and value them as a person. There's none of us. That's like the biggest need in our life. It's legit. But this is where, and I think a very well-intentioned barman starts to miss the point just a little bit. And it's so hideous, isn't it? It's like your greatest strength becomes your greatest weakness. It's like, I wish I'd be half the father he is in this movie. I mean, his heart for his kids and his wife, I mean, he loves those guys. But because the wound and the hole is so deep and so real, he starts to push for anything that will fill that and be willing to even risk his own family to fill it. And he doesn't even know he's doing it. Charity knows it. He doesn't even see it. And so what's he do? He gets ready to leave his family and invest all of his wealth into a very precarious business model with Jenny Lind, hoping that if he can be with her, then finally the elite in the country, in the big cities, New York City and Chicago, they will see him as legit and not just a phony circus guy. Because even though he's completely successful and deeply loved by his family, it's not enough. I thought, oh my gosh, how many times have I done that, right, Callie? It's like, I've had so much in my life. I feel like I don't deserve everything I have in my life, and yet a large part of my life I've been driven to prove to myself that I'm enough. And we've had that conversation multiple times where, Calvin, Mark, what's it going to take? I mean, you've got this, you got our family, and you. I think it's so interesting how human nature doesn't change. Our culture changes, iPhones change, but people don't. 2,000 years ago, Jesus told this amazing story. And I bet you a lot of you have heard of it. If you haven't read it, you probably heard of the prodigal son, right? And I'm going to read that story to you because it has a lot of similarities with the movie. I think you'll see him in a minute. But I want to give you the context that he's in, because you have to understand, like, why did he tell this story? Well, there's a reason, okay? So this is what's happening. Jesus is sitting. Well, I'll read. This is kind of set you up, okay? So Jesus is in this place, and he's got some people around him. Look at it. Now the tax collectors and sinners were all gathered around to hear Jesus. I got to stop there, and you just have to understand, tax collectors in their culture were the scum of the earth. They were thieves, swindlers. They cared about nobody but themselves. They took your money and pocketed it. Okay, I mean, they were the most hated people in the world. And it says, and other sinners were gathered around to hear Jesus. And you just have to notice this. Jesus claimed to be God. So here's God, and who are the people that want to be around him? The people you could say maybe are most far from him. Isn't that interesting? I just think that is such an amazing thing, that God, Jesus, was obviously friendly to them. He was inviting to them. But here's what happened. But the Pharisees, here's the church people again, because the Pharisees were the religious elite, okay? And the teachers of the law, the religious law of the Jewish nation, muttered, which means they complained, talked behind his back, stirred up crap, right? And it said, this man, talking about Jesus, welcomes sinners and eats with them. So that's where Jesus goes, hey, I'm going to tell you a little story. Okay. And he actually told 3 stories. The first one was a story of the lost sheep. And it was he says this, hey, you guys, a lot of you are shepherds, that's our culture. He goes, if you have 100 sheep and one gets lost, what's a good shepherd do? He leaves the 99 and he goes and finds the one that's lost. And when he finds it, he calls all his friends and has a great party to celebrate. Let me tell you another one. Talks about a woman who loses a coin, and it was a valuable coin. What does she do? She lights a lamp. She looks all over her house till she finds it, and when she does, she calls her friends, has a huge celebration. He goes, now let me tell you another story. And here's the prodigal son. Jesus continued. There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to his father, Father, give me my share of the estate. So he divided his property between them. Not long after that, that younger son got together all he had, set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. And after he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in that whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. When he came to his senses, he said, how many of my father's hired servants have food to spare? And here I am starving to death. I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I've sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired men. And so he got up and went to his father. But while he was a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. And the son said to him, Father, I've sinned against heaven and against you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to the servants, quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet, and bring the fattened calf and kill it, and let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And so they began to celebrate. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the older son was in the field. And when he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. So he called one of the servants and asked, what was going on? Your brother has come, he replied, and your father has killed the fattened calf because he has him back safe and sound. The older brother became angry and refused to go in. So his father went out and pleaded with him. But he answered his father, look, all these years I've been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders. Yet you never gave me even a young goat so I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours, who has squandered your property with prostitutes, comes home, you kill the fatted calf for him? My son, father said, you are always with me. Everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. The younger son was so desperate, there was some kind of hole in his soul that was so big, he was willing to risk everything to fill it. And you have to understand, in that culture, to ask for an inheritance, especially as a second child, the younger son, was literally like staring your dad in the face and say, I wish you were dead. Give me the money now. That's what he was saying. And then he was a complete fool in the transaction. So he goes out, and in that day, to sell property was a very lengthy process. And the way it's written in Scripture, it's pretty clear it happened quickly. So he probably got pennies on the dollar, literally, so that he could get out of Dodge as quick as possible. That's what was going on. So very quickly, everything backfires, right? He finds himself in this famine. He's feeding pigs, and in a Jewish culture, pigs were non-kosher. They were dirty. You couldn't eat them. You weren't supposed to be around them, and I think it's so ironic that that's the job he gets, actually feeding pigs. So he's at the bottom of the barrel. Barnum got to the bottom of the barrel. He's not afraid to risk everything to fill this hole. And his risk completely backfired in the story. If you see the movie, this is what happens. He loses everything. Jenny leaves the tour. He goes bankrupt. The house is confiscated. There's a scandal that Jenny orchestrates. She leaves her husband. He loses his family. He loses his reputation. He loses his credibility. He loses everything. It's unbelievable. It's a very similar thing in the story. And some of us in this room have been down that, or we're in that road right now, because there's been a legitimate thing in you that has to be filled. It does. It's that important. It's your soul. It's who you are. It's your identity. It's at the core of who you are. But maybe it was the razor's edge, and your greatest strength became your weakness, and you began to try to fill that legitimate longing in a way that really was an illegitimate response or way, and you found yourself with nothing. That could be you today. We're going to watch another clip in a second, and as we get ready to do that, ushers, would you come down? We're going to go ahead and take our offering now. And this is, again, I know we have visitors here today. Just want you to know, don't feel nervous or obligated about this. We really are trying to become a family that really knows each other and live life together, and we're trying to learn how to actually be generous with what God has given us. And so that's what this moment is about. You're more than welcome to give, but don't feel obligated. If you are visiting, we'd love to just have you stop at our starting point table in the back and say hey, and we've got a gift for you out there, but thanks so much for being with us. So again, P.T. Barnum, just like the prodigal son, finds himself at the bottom of the barrel, and he's at a bar, sitting all by himself, feeling sorry for himself, and he begins to realize something clicks. Something's starting to click about what really matters. Wow, that's right. Come on, that's a pretty good Hollywood picture there with the old scarf blowing in the sunset, isn't it? That's pretty awesome. But what is so beautiful about that is he was completely broken, right? But what was so great about it is that he was in reality for the first time. How freeing that is. And when he says that one statement, he goes, I wanted to be more than what I was. It's like you could just see Charity going, oh man, this is what I want. Just want you. You know what's so cool? That prodigal son story, you see the same thing? He wanted more than what he was. And he realized what he was. See, when you get your identity and you understand who you are, God's very clear. He says, you know what? There was a point when you were a slave to sin. You know what that is? That means you're a slave to that hole in your soul. There's a point for all of us. We're a slave to it. We got to fill it. He goes, no more. You're no longer a slave to fear. I call you a child of God. You're my kid. You're my heir. Everything I have is yours, God says to you. It's so beautiful. That's what he offers us. I wanted to leave you with just a couple thoughts, because this is my prayer for all of you, is that that you could find reality in Christ as the lover of your soul, your creator, and that you could find rest there so that you don't have to try to be more than who you really are. That you could rest in who you are and be at home. Be at home with him. This is three things I just wanted to remember. Every human is a work of art. See, God made you just the way he wanted you to be. You're perfect to him. The way Charity saw Barnum, says, man, all I wanted was a man I married. You're everything I wanted. You're a work of art, and you're an artist at work. Your imagination is God-given, and he wants to co-create with you to be an awesome force in this world. Seriously, every single one of us. Every one of us. Second thing, don't be fooled. Don't fill a legitimate need in an illegitimate way. We're all on a razor's edge. It's so easy to be fooled and to think you're doing something and it's not even real. Don't try to fill that need in an illegitimate way. And then just to remember these words from God to us, forget the former things. Don't dwell on the past. See, I'm doing a new thing. Some of you have given up hope. I know you have. God's saying, I'm doing a new thing. I'm coming after you. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? He's saying, I'm doing it. You know, one of the pictures that is different in this movie, you see the point where Barnum gets that clicks for him, and he says, from now on, and he looks at that picture of his family, and he starts sprinting down the sidewalk, get emotional thinking about it, and he's just cranking, right? Because he's going to do it from now on. This is where the story with Jesus is different. You know who the sprinter is? It's God toward you. See, that's a prodigal son. He's a way off. He's ruined everything. He's crawling on his belly back to his dad. His dad sees him, and he takes off running. And in the Jewish culture, grown men didn't run. It was disrespectful. It was disgraceful to run. And God said, I don't care. I will do anything to have my son back. And I'm going to throw a party. That's the cool part of that story for you. That's what God thinks about you. No longer a slave. What is your identity? You're his child. And he's looking at you with great love in his eyes. So we're going to sing a song. We're going to sing a song that just restates this. It's a song we love to sing. I'd love to invite you, but if you just want to listen, let it pour over you, this is who God is. Okay?
was lost, but he brought me in. Oh, his love for me. Yes, his love for me. The sun sets free. Oh, it's free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. He last is ransomed. His grace runs deep. While I was a slave to sin, Jesus died for me. Yes, he died for me. Who the Son sets free. Oh, it's free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. For I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. For I am who you say I am. I am chosen, not forsaken. For I am who you say I am. You are for me, not against me. For I am who you say I am. Oh, I am who you say I am. The sun sets free. Oh, it's free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. Who the Son sets free. Oh, is free indeed. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am. In my Father's house, there's a place for me. I'm a child of God. Yes, I am.
That's the truth. That's the truth. So even if you find yourself today going, I don't know, I'm telling you, man, that's what God feels about you. Isn't that awesome? Couple things. Next weekend, okay, the 5th, we're going to be celebrating baptisms, which is this. You know what it is? It's people that have been trying to fill the hole in their soul all along, went back, found the Father and Jesus, freedom, and they're telling their story. So I would just say for a lot of you that this is a new thing and you're like, man, are you serious about this? I'd invite you to come to Stony Creek next Sunday and hear the story of several people, just people like you and me. Just go, dude, this is where I was and I met Jesus. This is what he did in my life. And then for some of you, you've tasted that recently and you've never had the chance to go public and say, this is what God's done for me. If you're that person, go to Starting Point, sign up. I'd love to dunk you. That'd be fun. So let's do that. Secondly, next week we're starting a new series. This has been fun doing the movie thing. We're going to do a new series called Shift. And it's really taking a look at certain things that we just kind of have a certain mindset. It's the way it is. And we're going to say, man, we need a shift in our thinking. We're going to be looking at the word unity, which is a huge deal in our culture right now, isn't it? Unity. And we're going to be looking at what that means in the church family. Because I'm telling you what, the church family had not scored real well on that one. So we're going to talk honestly about that. So come next week, talk about that, and we can go into shift. Just one last thing. This is for any Sunday you're here. If you've got something that's just really hard and you'd like to have somebody come alongside you and just pray with you, we're here. And right, we're always here. Or if today is your day and you're saying, man, I'd like to step into the arms of Jesus, but I don't even know how to do that. We'd love to just talk to you about that too. All right, thanks so much for being here. Have a great day. Bye.